Hello and welcome to Under the Visor, your weekly Formula One podcast where one of us knows exactly what he's talking about.
And the other one is still very much learning.
Yes, I'm Karl.
I'm Tom.
And before we get into the weekend, I do look at the lens of my camera, not above it. A big welcome to the new Under the Visor rebrand. New overlay, new logo, new short form content coming to YouTube and TikTok soon. Same two annoying voices, just slightly different pixels.
We'll get into the news.
Yes.
Review the one and only practice session at Zandvoort, and then be unpacking everything that unfolded across the sprint and the Dutch Grand Prix.
That's very dramatic. Well done.
Thank you. Should have done it like you would, sort of
stare into space.
Yeah. Not looking at the camera lens, by the way. Anyway.
No. So, before we properly get stuck into the Dutch Grand Prix, there's quite a bit happening away from the circuit. The biggest headline is probably the one Red Bull fans have all been waiting for.
I've got a new pen.
Yeah. Do you want to also...
Will I show you it?
Go on then.
New pen.
Nice.
Yep.
Is that the pen that you're going to write your I was wrong letter on? Because Max has re-signed for Red Bull Racing through to the end of 2030.
We'll make mistakes. So.
Yeah. Didn't you say that we were guaranteed to see him sign for McLaren this season?
Can't remember.
No. I thought you might have selective memory on that.
I think what I actually said was it's very unlikely for him to sign for another team because Red Bull give him the freedom to do things. It's definitely in one of the episodes, by the way. And I can't see him going anywhere else.
Sure, okay. We'll agree to disagree.
But yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah, you were.
He had been linked with other teams for months.
He had been,
of uncertainty. And there had also been frustrations around the current regulations and the performance of the RB 2022. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually what I've heard is that the FIA are actually listening to him and making changes based on his suggestions as part of this redeal. But the immediate takeaway is that Max is staying put. We don't know what the contract is worth. There's rumours that it's about 92 million a year, but you'd imagine it wasn't signed with a biro and a packet of crisps.
Well, I've got the only pen, so no, probably slightly more formal than that. And it does give Red Bull some certainty because regardless of how the car has been performing, their future still includes Verstappen for a good few years.
Yes. And talking of re-signs, Williams have been busy sorting out their future as well.
They have indeed.
Yeah, Sainz has officially re-signed on a multi-year contract. Length of the deal hasn't been specified, though.
And Alex Albon has also re-signed for Williams with a deal that takes him through to the end of 2027.
Yeah.
He joined the team in 2022 and has identified as the Williams driver to reach 100 Grand Prix starts with the team.
Yeah, which means Williams have locked in both drivers for 2027, which is a useful bit of stability, really. Albon's agreement is being presented as a sign of his long-term commitment and his trust in the team to produce a competitive car despite their difficult start to the season.
So this still has brought a few more reported details with it too. The reports put his salary at around 30 million euros per year and say that there are performance clauses in the contract that could allow him to leave Williams if it doesn't produce a car competitive enough for the level they expect.
Yeah, it's an interesting arrangement because it's a commitment from Sainz, but not necessarily a promise that he will stay forever, whatever happens around him.
Yeah, exactly. Though the important bit for Williams is that on paper, they've both got seats accounted for.
Yeah.
That's a much calmer position than wondering who might be available for a few months. And most drivers have performance clauses. So
yeah, as we knew Max did.
yeah.
So, but going back to Red Bull, there is a late change to their lineup and also the Racing Bull lineup. Hadjar is reportedly set to, well, I say reportedly set, he did miss the Dutch Grand Prix because of a wrist injury.
Yeah. The reported reshuffle is that again, this is what happened. Liam Lawson is moving into the second Red Bull seat with Yuki Tsunoda stepping back into Racing Bulls for the weekend.
Yeah, which is a significant bit of movement just before the cars go out. It means Lawson is suddenly dealing with the second Red Bull seat again, while Tsunoda's had to adapt to a different car, different garage, different regulations. He's not driven a 2026 car at all.
Yeah, and it gives the weekend an extra layer before we even get started discussing lap times. The lineup itself becomes part of the story.
It does. Aston Martin have announced a change off the track. Woody Johnson, who we all know, obviously, he's an American billionaire that owns the New York Jets. He's acquired a minority stake in Aston Martin and has become the vice chairman of their board of directors with immediate effect.
Johnson previously bought the New York Jets in 2000 and holds 43% stake in Crystal Palace as well. But this isn't him arriving to run Aston Martin day to day. These responsibilities remain with executive chairman Lawrence Stroll.
Yeah. Stroll said that Johnson's experience, passion and investment is just going to strengthen Aston Martin as they enter the next phase of their journey.
Yeah, and Johnson said he wanted to contribute to developing the team into an organisation capable of competing at the very highest level of the sport. So his language around it is very much about building a team rather than just buying into it and standing in the background. And also it probably helps that Stroll's not paying for everything himself now.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
They share a commitment, though, to growing Aston Martin's fan base in the US. We spoke about F1 wanting to reach out to 1 billion fans, and Aston Martin think that this is going to help reach out to the US and introduce more people there to F1, given his background. So that connection makes a bit of sense.
It does. The interesting part is how that investment eventually translates into team ambitions. But for now, his role is, clearly defined, and Stroll retains day-to-day management.
Now, one story that could still affect an earlier result in the season is the appeal involving Red Bull, McLaren and the FIA. The International Court of Appeals has accepted Red Bull and McLaren's appeal against the decision to rescind Gasly's 2 5-second penalties from Monaco.
The penalties were for being in the pit lane after they were rescinded. Gasly was promoted to third, and that cost Hadjar his first podium at Red Bull.
Alpine successfully appealed it, but the appeal was questioned by many drivers and fans. So it could reopen a result that people thought had already been put to bed.
Yeah, although accepting the appeal doesn't by itself tell us what the final outcome will be. It means that the challenge is going ahead. It doesn't yet tell us whether the Monaco result will change again.
Yeah, and there's another possible calendar story. We spoke about which countries have piped up wanting to host races. The next one to throw the hat in the ring is Argentina. Their president said that he would push to get them back on the Formula One calendar and has personally met with representatives of the FIA already.
Yeah, well, Argentina hasn't hosted a race since 1998. I do remember the track. It's quite a good track, actually.
Okay.
But it has already secured MotoGP event for 2027. So there's clearly a motorsport event in this country's plans, but there isn't a confirmed Formula One return at this stage.
Yeah, so it's an ambition and a push for a race rather than an announcement that there's definitely going to be a race there.
And finally, Haas might be considering reserve driver Jack Doohan for the 2027 race seat, alongside Oliver Bearman, according to Motorsport Italia. Haas are running a previous car test at Portorino with Rafael Camarara, something like that, and Leonardo Formicelli, lasagna pasta. While Doohan isn't part of that test, but he has been given another test day after the Madrid Grand Prix.
Isn't Leonardo Formicelli one of the McLaren test drivers? I feel like he's driven in one of the P1s of McLaren.
I mean, I've got the pen, mate. That's all I know.
You're supposed to be the expert.
I'm not on reserve drivers. Potentially, yes. I can't see Doohan getting that seat, but whatever.
He is McLaren, yeah.
I'm very rarely wrong.
He's the reserve driver for McLaren. Yes, you are very rarely wrong about people moving to teams.
Yeah, I can't see Jack Doohan getting it.
He wasn't very good, was he?
No.
From what I understand, remember.
No, it wasn't.
No. Well, there's plenty of movement going on, basically. So Verstappen staying at Red Bull, Williams keeping both sides, and Albon. A late reshuffle involving Lawson and Tsunoda, and changes around Aston Martin.
Which is a lot of news before we've even mentioned a single Dutch Grand Prix practice lap. It's probably a good place to stop talking about contracts and paddock decisions and start talking about what the cars actually did in Zandvoort.
Agreed. Let's get into practice. So the weekend opened with a slightly unusual pressure cooker. One practice session and then straight into the competitive part of the weekend. There wasn't much time for anyone to ease themselves in after the summer break.
Yeah, and then Kimi made the most of the first hour. He eventually put together the quickest lap of a 1:12.943, which put the Mercedes right at the top.
Yeah, although right away probably isn't quite fair because it wasn't a completely tidy session for Antonelli. He did have a spin at turn 10 and later felt impeded by Nico while he was on his fast lap.
So the fastest driver still had a couple of moments where it could have gone wrong. That's very Zandvoort. Really, the lap looks compact, but the corners arrive quickly and there doesn't seem to be much room for an error or movement, really.
No, Lando was just behind him, though, just 0.120 seconds off the Mercedes. Russell was third, Hamilton fourth. So Mercedes had both cars right at the sharp end, with Norris keeping McLaren very much in the conversation.
Ferrari had its own share of drama as well. Hamilton put four wheels into the gravel at turn 12, while Charles Leclerc also found the stones on the final late lap.
Yes. Max also had a lock-up at the same corner and later had to correct himself there as well. So turn 12 was clearly getting a lot of attention before anyone had even reached qualifying.
But Carlos Sainz really had the roughest looking session of that group. He went into the gravel at turn 13 and then ended up in the loose stuff again at turn 11 and 12. The team later confirmed that the floor was damaged after he took to the escape road.
Yeah, it's a particularly awkward way to start the weekend, really, when there's only one practice session. You're trying to learn the car and build up confidence, and suddenly part of the session becomes damage limitation instead.
Yeah, there were a few other things going on down the order too. Liam Lawson was stepping in for Isaac Hajar, who we've said obviously had that wrist injury over the summer, and Arvid Lindblad had a slide through turn 11, but he did keep the car out of danger and finished 10th. Not bad.
No, but that was 7 places ahead of Tsunoda, who was returning to the grid, obviously, for the first time since Abu Dhabi last season. That's how long it's been. Fernando Alonso, 12th fastest, Stroll, 18th.
And Oscar Piastri was 6th. So McLaren had both cars inside the top 6. Even if Antonelli was the one, to take the headlines at that point.
Yeah, it's an encouraging start for Mercedes, but the incidents matter as well. Kimi obviously had the pace. Lando was extremely close. Several drivers had already tested a limit before the weekend had properly got going.
Yeah, exactly. With no second practice session to smooth things out, everyone had to take their lessons straight into the next part of the weekend.
Right, sprint quali began with a fairly brutal first cut. Alonso locked up a run wide at Tarzan corner, and that left him 21st and ultimately out of the session.
Yeah, this wasn't the only familiar name in trouble. Oliver Behrman, Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll, Valtteri Bottas, and Sergio Perez were also eliminated in the opening group. Stroll was still down in 18th with a minute to go, so there wasn't much sign of a late rescue coming from himself.
No, and that's a very familiar set of names, isn't it? For first
pretty
cut.
much.
So did you know that in Italy, at the next race, if Stroll goes out in Q1 again, he will be the first driver ever to hit 100 Q1 eliminations.
Wow. He is terrible.
He is. But Lando produced the improvement that made it a McLaren 1-2 at that early stage, while Liam Lawson was eliminated in 11th and Tsunoda followed in 12th. So the midfield battle was already doing plenty of work before the final shootout.
Yeah, and there was something really good. There were some really good stories in the next group. Pierre Gasly got through into 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel Bortoleto put together the fastest final sector at that point and reached the top 10. And Arvid Lindblad made it through in 9th. So yeah, there were quite a few surprises.
There were,
right there.
And it said a lot about. I mean, I slate him all the time, but Liam gets promoted up into a Red Bull car and then gets out qualified by his normal teammate in his normal car.
Yeah.
So unlucky. But that did give us 3 drivers worth keeping an eye on in the shootout. But the front of the grid belonged to George Russell. He took sprint pole, beating Lando by 400th of a second.
That's a tiny gap. Charles Leclerc was only 100th away in 3rd, 500ths behind Russell in total. Oscar Piastri was 4th. Championship leader Kimi Antonelli struggled and only managed to get 5th.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Max Verstappen 6th, with Lewis Hamilton just behind them as well.
Yeah, so Russell had the advantage, but there was absolutely no breathing room at the front, as you say. Lando was right there, Leclerc was right behind him, and the sprint was set up for a proper fight before the lights had even gone out.
So let's move on to the sprint race.
Yes, because George had to put himself on sprint pole and had a very simple job at the start. Get away cleanly and keep the Mercedes in front.
And that is exactly what he did. Russell made a great launch. Lando slotted just in behind him. Charles Leclerc held 3rd and Kimi Antonelli moved up into 4th place in the opening phase.
Yeah, so George had the ideal beginning, but Leclerc wasn't content to just sit there behind Lando. He started applying the pressure, and at Tarzan, he went on the inside.
He's got to the apex first, then ran wheel to wheel, and Leclerc completed the pass for 2nd. It was a big move. Mm-hmm. It was one of the bigger moves, actually, of the sprint. Not really. Norris was struggling with the rear of the McLaren, and Leclerc just kept chipping away until the opportunity arrived.
Yeah, you say it was one of the biggest moves of the sprint. I think in the whole top 10 during the sprint, there was only 2 movements.
Yeah, there wasn't
a lot going on at all. But that did give Russell a bit of breathing room at the front. Lando suddenly had to defend 3rd rather than think about attacking for the win.
Yeah, and for a sprint, that's a fairly awkward position to find yourself in. You've lost 1 place, you're trying to hang on to the podium, and the race is only 24 laps long, so there isn't lots of time to reset.
No. George, though, looked nicely in control. The question then became whether the weather was going to throw something at them before the checkered flag.
The rain was intensifying towards the end, but it didn't arrive in time. Should have done.
Yeah.
Russell got to the line first, with Leclerc 2nd, and Lando holding on to 3rd, and Antonelli was in 4th.
Yes, so that's another sprint pole converted into a sprint victory for Russell. It was his 3rd sprint win of the season. He's also returned to the top step for the first time since the Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, a very tidy weekend start for him, and a clean launch. Dealt with Leclerc move by keeping this race under control, And the rain waited just long enough to become somebody else's problem. And then we can move on to qualifying.
We can, because Sainz's session was over almost immediately. He was eliminated in Q1 by just 200th of a second.
200th is absolutely brutal. Close enough to feel like the tiniest detail decided the whole session. But there's no appeal once you're out.
No, and the order was still shifting around at that point. Gasly found a particularly strong lap and climbed as high as 5th during qualifying.
Which is always a lovely thing to see on the timer screen, even if you know that the big names haven't necessarily finished their runs yet. For a moment, though, Gasly had put himself right in the mix.
Yeah, Hulkenberg also made progress during an earlier phase, improving to 6th. So there were a few unexpected names appearing near the front of the session as it developed.
That's the slightly deceptive bit of qualifying. Someone finds an early lap in order to suddenly the order suddenly looks completely different. And then you're waiting to see whether it survives for the next set of runs.
Yeah, well, in Gasly's case, it didn't quite turn into the result he had been threatening. He later couldn't get past Lindblad, so whilst the fight to reach the final part continued to take shape.
Yeah. So the headlines from the opening stages were Sainz missing out by the tiniest of margins, but there was also those little flashes from Gasly and Hulkenberg before the picture settled down.
Yeah, we get to Q3 eventually, and the conditions made the final part even more difficult to read. Rain was falling during the closing stages, but the drivers were still finding extra time and grip.
Yeah, which is a strange combination. You're watching the rain come down and expecting the times to stop improving, then somebody goes quicker, and then suddenly the whole pole fight is alive again.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton was one of the drivers who found that improvement. We all know he's good in the rain. But his qualifying had looked difficult, but right at the end he moved ahead of his teammate with a lap that rescued the session for him.
Yeah, and there was a proper late response from Hamilton. He didn't have the comfort of sitting there knowing the job was done. He had produced the lap when it mattered, though.
Yeah, but then Lando found the answer to Mercedes and Ferrari, and he took pole for the Grand Prix, making it back-to-back F1 pole positions for him.
Yeah, and that's a very good way to finish it. Russell had already converted the sprint pole into a victory, but Norris got the main qualifying headline with the Grand Prix pole. It was up for grabs.
Yeah, Russell qualified 2nd, Kimi 3rd, Oscar Piastri 4th. Lewis's late lap put him in 5th, ahead of his teammate Leclerc in 6th.
Max Verstappen in 7th and Liam Lawson in 8th, with Gabriel Bortoletto 9th and Arvid Lindbergh completing the top 10.
Yes, so that was the final order.
And that order only really came together at the end. It started with Sainz being knocked out by 200 seconds. Had Gasly briefly in 5th and Hulkenberg in 6th, and then finished with rain falling while the drivers were still improving.
Exactly. Right, race time then. Lando on pole, George alongside him with Kimi and Oscar making up row 2.
And Russell's start was absolutely awful.
Yeah, he crawled away. He was busy trying to cover Piastri, which he just about managed, but that opened the door for Kimi, who went straight through into 2nd place.
Yeah, so Norris leads, Antonelli's immediately upper place, Russell's already going backwards, and then we've barely had time to process any of that before Max Verstappen is in the wall.
Massive crash. He touches the white line on that greasy surface. The rear goes, and that's it. Home Grand Prix over almost immediately.
Yeah, that's a horrible way for the race to end, especially at Zandvoort.
Yeah, and it completely interrupts the start of the Grand Prix as a red flag is shown. And the race was paused. Eventually, we get the green light again, and then an extra formation lap, I believe, because I think it was the last 4 or 5 cars as they went to exit the pit. The red flag was shown again.
Yeah, it was all very confusing.
Yeah.
And then they all lined up wrong and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's really a horrible way for his race to end, especially at his home Grand Prix.
Yeah, eventually though, take two.
Yes.
And
Norris, Kimi absolutely nails it.
He does. He
Kimi
absolutely
nails that one.
Nailed that start. Unfortunately for Lando, but Lando's on the softs, Kimi's on the mediums, and he immediately gets alongside, goes on the inside, and then takes the lead.
That's two starts, two big moves for Antonelli's. First Russell, then Norris. He couldn't really have asked for much more from the opening of this race.
No, he couldn't. And behind them, Oscar's doing some damage on the hard tyres as well. He gets past Russell and goes up into third.
Which looked really good at that point. Hard tyres up from fourth to third. Russell behind him. Piastri looked like they put himself right in the podium fight.
Yeah, and then came the first pit stops. Yeah. He had a 2.7 second lead over Russell before stopping.
And the stop took 5.4 seconds.
Yeah, which is all Russell needed. Piastri came back out vulnerable. George gets the place back.
Yeah, that's brutal because Piastri had done the difficult bit himself. He had made a pass on the track and then lost all of that advantage in the pits.
Yeah, and suddenly then had more problems coming his way.
Leclerc first.
Yeah, Charles gets past and moves into fourth. And then Lewis attacks as well. Lewis gets to the apex first, and Ferrari have both now cleared Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, that's quite a swing. A few minutes earlier, we were talking about Piastri running third on the hard tyres, and now Russell, Leclerc and Hamilton have all come through.
Yeah, there's loads going on further back as well. Gasly was trying to get Lindblad, but couldn't quite make it stick. But that then gave Hulkenberg the opportunity.
Yeah, and he took it. Hulkenberg goes around Gasly and then gets Lindblad as well.
Yeah, Lindblad had been fighting pretty much from the start. But those mediums he was on were fading by that point.
Yeah, then Tsunoda gets involved. Brilliant commitment through turn 7 and another really good move.
Yeah, but whilst all that's kicking off, let's go back to the lead because Lando's starting to close Kimi down.
Yeah, and Kimi wasn't loving those tyres anymore. Norris had tyres had done 7 laps fresher, and was starting to get properly close.
Yeah, Lewis was ahead of them on the track as well at this point. Lewis was currently leading. Kimi was second, Lando third, but it gave Lando the slipstream as they close up.
Yeah, and then we get the move.
We do. Antonelli dives on Hamilton. Norris goes around the outside of Kimi and gets through. It
was a lovely move, to be fair.
It was, yeah, really good. Kimi had taken the lead off him at the restart, and Lando's now gone and won that position back through actual racing on the track.
That's what makes Norris's race much better than just looking at a pole position race win. He actually had to go and get this one back.
He did, and then Ocon stops off the racing line and we get a virtual safety car.
Yeah, which immediately throws the strategy back into it.
It does. Lewis benefits from the cheaper stop. Ferrari double stack with Leclerc and bring him in as well. And Antonelli also pits under the VSC and goes for soft tyres.
Suddenly everybody is taking advantage of this window.
Yes, Gasly manages to get himself back into the action as well. He goes after Tsunoda for the final point and gets the move done.
There was very little of this race where nothing was happening somewhere. There was always something going on.
Yeah, and not long after Lando had gotten himself back ahead of Antonelli, obviously we then get this VSC, and Lando didn't pit, and that kind of worried us a little bit, didn't it?
Which immediately opens up the pit window. Hamilton gets the cheaper stops, bringing Leclerc in as well, and Antonelli comes in for a soft tyres.
I've definitely put the same bit in the notes twice there, haven't I? But
yeah, you have.
Yeah, but Kimi basically comes back out behind George, and Mercedes don't leave them like that for long, do they?
No, the message comes through, George, we will be inverting the cars, swapping them over.
Yeah, so Russell moves aside and Kimi gets back into second, and from there we're heading towards the finish.
Yeah, Norris has done the hard work by that point. He had lost the lead at the restart, fought his way back, past Kimi, and now just needed to bring it home.
Which he did. Lando wins the Dutch Grand Prix, back-to-back victories.
Yeah, Kimi Hamilton takes second, George Russell third, and Lewis Hamilton fourth.
I think Kimi can actually be pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
He made himself a genuine problem for Lando today rather than just following him around the track.
Yeah, definitely. But Lando had the answer when he needed it. And that's what ultimately won him the race.
Yeah. So your top three then, Lando, Kimi, Russell. And that's your Dutch Grand Prix. So after Zandvoort, our attention turns to Monza. And bad news for Kimi, he's already announced that his home race is going to come with a fairly sizable complication. He's confirmed that he's going to change his engine there and take a grid penalty.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't know why they're doing it. I mean, obviously they've got to. It's not a choice they take lightly. Yeah. But you don't want to arrive at your home Grand Prix, leading the World Championship, by a significant margin, and then have to take a grid penalty, which I imagine will be 10 places or something.
Yeah,
might only be 5.
I'm not too sure. But what I'm taking away from this is, I said last week that with 12 races left, if Lando wins all of them, and Kimi comes at least, I think it was 4th in one race, then Lando wins the championship by 1 point. This grid penalty might see Kimi come lower than 4th. Could we be seeing? Could it?
Maybe.
Could it happen with your lucky?
Did you include? I did ask you. You never told me. Did you include sprint races in that?
I didn't fact check it. I don't know is the answer. Because obviously George won this weekend's one. But with your lucky new pen, Tom, anything can happen.
That's it. My lucky new pen.
Yeah.
That's the pen, everybody, again. Pen.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Very nice. But he does arrive in Monza with a decent cushion in the championship. He leads currently on 242 points. George has moved up to second. He's on 183, which is the same amount of points as Lewis. But is it because George has got more wins? Is that how they work?
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
And that's a 59-point lead ahead of both of them. Russell ahead of Hamilton in the standings, like we've said. A 59-point lead is humongous. That's 2 races without him finishing. Yeah. They have to win both of them, and they still won't be ahead in the championship.
Yeah. Definitely does give him some breathing room. He will, however, because he likes his records. Not so much a record, but he's the first Italian to arrive at Monza leading the championship since 1953. You'll remember that, won't you?
Who would that have been then? Manuel Fangio?
It would have been driver. Here we go. There was a couple of Italians. I don't know who won, but he had.
Was Fangio even Italian?
No, he was Argentinian.
So it definitely was.
Felice Bonetto, Sergio Mantovani, and Luigi Musso. Alberto Ascari, Nino Farina, Luigi Villaresi, Umberto Maglioli, Piero Carini. I don't know. Drivers' champion Alberto Ascari. So I can only assume it was him.
Oh, yeah. But that is a brilliant storyline for his home race. The less encouraging bit is that no Italian driver has won the Monza Grand Prix since 1966.
No, so there's a lot of pressure for him, plus a grid penalty. So there's a huge home crowd expecting something special from him.
And then you've got Lando Norris coming into it with a bit of momentum as well. He's now won 2 Grand Prix in a row.
Soon to make it 12. He is now 4th in the championship on 159 points. He's still 83 points behind Antonelli, but another strong weekend start makes that gap look a little more interesting, do we think?
I think so. I mean, if you think...
or are we just dreaming?
What was it? 60... It's only... So he is less far behind the championship leader than we're talking about George Russell and Hamilton taking the championship.
Yeah.
So he's only an extra 20 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, Monza's already got plenty going for it. Kimi's at home leading the championship. He does have this grid penalty. Russell and Hamilton are tied right behind him, and Lando looking to make dreams come true.
So, shall we move on to our predictions that we've made?
Yes.
Which I believe were terrible.
Well, I had Max for pole.
Wrong.
You had Max for pole.
Wrong.
I had George as the Grand Prix winner.
Wrong.
Did win the sprint though.
Doesn't count. Move on.
Does. You had Kimi to win.
He's leading the World Championship.
And didn't win the race though.
Okay.
I had Williams as the biggest surprise. Now they came 16th and 17th. So not a surprise.
And I had Aston Martin.
You did. Now you could argue,
And I will.
that Alonso came 9th. So he actually got the team 2 points, which were their first points of the season.
No. I think he has scored a
No?
point. I think he has. I think they're on 3 now or something.
A very quick check. Lance on 0. He is on 3
Yeah.
points.
But
Yeah.
still, a
So you
good
could
surprise.
you could argue that's a surprise. I had Bottas as a first
And we were
DNF.
never going to call
Now,
it.
he did DNF, but he was the 5th person to DNF.
And I had Perez.
You did. Who didn't DNF? He did finish the race.
And I had
I
driver
had
of the
Max.
weekend, Max.
We both did.
Right. I don't think he was driver of the
so-
weekend.
I don't think he was.
No.
No, I think he made the biggest headline.
Made the biggest amount of damage and the loudest noise.
He did. Now, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to call that prediction a draw.
Call it what you like. I won.
No.
Well,
No.
where do you get a point from?
Bottas at least getting a DNF. Your prediction didn't even get a DNF.
Hang on, what does it say?
And
Hang on,
I
what does it say? First DNF.
George is the Grand Prix winner. He technically won a Grand Prix, sprint Grand Prix.
Okay, we'll call it a draw then.
Yeah, thank you. Should we lock in for next week? Who have you got for pole?
Now,
Bearing in mind, Kimi's got a
yeah, but
grid
he'll
penalty.
still have got pole,
No, it doesn't count.
which it does. It will still go down as a pole
No.
position, and then he'll get a penalty.
Yeah, immediately, so it doesn't count.
No, he'll still be signing the pole position thing.
No,
Yes, you're wrong.
doesn't count.
You're wrong. Same as you thinking it's
All right. Well, if you want to put Kimi down, fine, but you're going to be losing because he's not going to get pole.
Okay. Go back and look. The last times, who was it? Was it somebody got a grid penalty already this year? It still counts as their pole
God.
position.
I'm not counting it though, and I'm in charge of the predictions.
All right, well, you can go first then.
No, I went first last week.
All right, your name's first on the prediction
And-
thing, so off you trot. Gosh,
Who's going to get pole? I'm going to say
like a Billy Bear looking idiot.
it's going to be... Oh, I was going to say Oscar. Why was I going to say Oscar?
You're an idiot.
I'm going to say Lewis.
Okay. I am going to say...
Kimi.
No, because apparently I'm not allowed to, because apparently in your world that doesn't count.
No, you can have him. You can have him.
I think he will get it. I'm going to go with Kimi.
And then lose it. Grand Prix winner.
I'm
sticking with my pole prediction. I'm saying Lewis. I want it to be Lando, clearly, but I'm gonna go Lewis.
think it'll be George.
Interesting. Okay. Biggest surprise
George winning a race.
again.
Now, I think the biggest surprise will be Kimi getting a podium.
I was gonna say my
On 10th.
prediction is I don't know what grid penalty he's gonna get. So my prediction was going to be Kimi for biggest surprise because he's going to get, like you've just predicted, a podium. But if he only gets a 4-place grid penalty, for example...
I think it's 10. I think it is 10.
Okay, well, I'm also saying Kimi.
Okay.
First DNF. I'm...
Bortoletto.
Oh. I was going to say... Sainz.
Okay.
Driver of the weekend.
I'm going Kimi.
I want it to be Lando, but I'm saying Kimi as well.
Yep.
I'm thinking with my head, not my heart. Okay, locked in.
Yeah, and that pretty much wraps us up now, doesn't it?
I'm going to do one of our TikToks live.
Go on then.
Breaking news in the world of Formula One. The FIA have confirmed, and now I say it's breaking news, it might not be for some people, but it is for me, because I've just seen it whilst we were uploading that last bit. The FIA have confirmed 2 punishments after their investigations after the Dutch Grand Prix.
Oh, yeah.
Colapinto was also handed a drive-through penalty and 2 penalty points for overtaking Tsunoda under double yellow line. Why am I saying double yellow lines? He's parked on double yellows. He's got a parking ticket.
Him. He's got a ticket.
He's got a drive-through penalty, 2 penalty points for overtaking Tsunoda under double yellows. And Lindblad also got infringement for overtaking Gasly on the double yellow on lap 1. And he's also had 2 penalty points added to his licence. Now, my question is, what does that mean? Does that mean that the points are taken off them in the standings, or because it says
no.
it's
So they're basically they're allowed
super license?
Yeah, so you're allowed. It's a bit like a driving license. You're allowed up to 12 points. If you get 12 points, you get a race ban.
I see. Right. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Because I was like, it didn't change the outcome of the race.
No,
and that's why
it's just
got points on their license.
Fantastic, and that is it for today.
Yes.
So if you've enjoyed the episode, don't forget to follow the podcast wherever you're listening.
Yes, and you can also find us on all socials by searching Under the Visor podcast. But let us know what you made of this weekend. Tell us your predictions for the next race in Italy.
And we'll be back next week with another episode of Under the Visor. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.